For 2 years, my mother-in-law had been complaining about me to the neighbors. Lazy son-in-law. Useless, she would say. I pretended I didn't know about it. Until that day when I overheard their conversation from the balcony and realized it was time to show her my true character. Hello, if you're subscribed, let's jump right into the video. This story will make you furious, but justice will be served in the end. Ready? Let's go. Let's hit that like button right off the bat. I absolutely love reading your amazing comments. I'm Marcus, 28 years old. I work in IT as a software developer and have a pretty flexible schedule. Sometimes I work from home, sometimes at the office. I'm married to Lisa, who's 26 and works as a marketing coordinator. My mother-in-law, Patricia, is 52, a retired school administrator. She's very traditional, believes in strict schedules and visible hard work. To her, if you're not constantly busy and sweating, you're not working. Lisa and I have been married for 3 years, and Patricia has lived in the apartment next to us for the past 2 years after her divorce. This proximity has been challenging. The neighborhood we live in is one of those close-knit communities where everyone knows everyone's business. Perfect setup for gossip. The issue with Patricia started almost immediately after she moved next door. She couldn't understand my work schedule. As a software developer, my productivity isn't measured by hours sat at a desk. Some days I solve a complex problem in 2 hours that saves the company thousands. Other days I might spend 8 hours debugging something simple. I often work from home, which means Patricia sees me during normal working hours, having coffee, taking breaks, or stepping out to the balcony for fresh air. To her traditional mindset, this looked like laziness. Marcus, why aren't you at the office? She'd ask. I'm working from home today, Patricia. But you're drinking coffee at 2 p.m. I can drink coffee while working. She'd give me that look, the one that said she didn't believe me. Our building has about 12 apartments, and Patricia quickly became the unofficial neighborhood information hub. She'd chat with Mrs. Henderson from 3B, Elena from the first floor, and Janet, who lived across the hall. These coffee morning sessions on the communal terrace became Patricia's platform for sharing her opinions about everyone, especially me. Lisa would sometimes mention things. Mom was talking to the neighbors again. She says they're concerned about the noise from apartment 4C. I started noticing how neighbors would look at me differently. Brief conversations that used to be friendly became awkward. Mrs. Henderson, who used to smile and wave, would just nod curtly. Something was definitely being said about me. The revelation came on a Tuesday morning in March. I was working from home, had finished a major project early, and decided to hang some laundry on our balcony to dry. Our balcony overlooks the communal terrace, where Patricia and her neighbor friends often gathered. I could hear voices but wasn't paying attention until I heard my name. Marcus is always home, Patricia was saying. I don't understand what kind of job he has. Maybe he works nights? Suggested Mrs. Henderson. No, Patricia continued. He sleeps normal hours. I think he's just lazy. My poor Lisa is supporting both of them. My blood started boiling. That's terrible, said Elena. A man should provide for his family. Exactly. Patricia's voice got more animated. He does nothing all day. Yesterday I saw him watching TV at 11 a.m. What kind of husband is that? What she didn't mention was that I had worked until 3 a.m. fixing a critical server issue that saved our client's business from going down during peak hours. Lisa deserves better, Patricia continued. I raised her to be independent, but she shouldn't have to carry a lazy husband. Janet chimed in. Have you talked to her about it? I try to hint, but she's blind to his faults. Love makes you stupid sometimes. That last comment hit me like a truck. Not only was she trashing my reputation with the neighbors, but she was also trying to poison my marriage. That evening, I decided to test something with Lisa. Honey, how do you think the neighbors see me? What do you mean? She asked, not looking up from her laptop. I mean, do you think they have a good impression of me? Lisa paused. Why are you asking? Just curious. Sometimes I feel like they're distant. What does she talk about? She worries about us, about our finances, our future. What does she say exactly? Lisa looked uncomfortable. She thinks you could be more ambitious, more traditional in your work approach. So Lisa knew. She knew her mother was spreading stories about me, and she was trying to diplomatically manage both sides. Lisa, do you think I'm lazy? Of course not. You work hard. Your job is just different from what she's used to. But you've never corrected her when she says these things. Marcus, she's my mother. I can't control what she says to her friends. That night I realized Lisa was caught in the middle, but she was also enabling her mother's behavior by not stopping it. I spent the next few days thinking about how to handle this. I had several options. Confront Patricia directly, but this would probably make things worse and put Lisa in an even more difficult position. Ask Lisa to intervene, but she'd already shown she wasn't willing to do this effectively. Ignore it, but my reputation in the building was already damaged, and Patricia's influence on Lisa was growing. Show them all who I really was. I chose option 4. The plan was simple. For 1 week, I would become the most visibly productive, helpful, and industrious person in the entire building. But I wouldn't tell anyone it was temporary or planned. Monday morning, 6 a.m. I was in the building's small gym that nobody ever used, doing a workout. Patricia walked by on her way to get her mail and did a double take seeing me there. "Morning, Patricia," I called out cheerfully. "Oh, morning, Marcus, you're up early. Best time to exercise before work." By 7 a.m., I was outside washing my car in the parking lot. Mrs. Henderson saw me and nodded approvingly. 8 a.m., I was helping Elena carry her groceries upstairs. "Thank you so much, Marcus, you're so helpful." "No problem at all, Elena, happy to help." Patricia watched this interaction from her doorway with a puzzled expression. That afternoon, instead of taking my usual coffee break on the balcony, I was in the courtyard fixing the broken bench that had been wobbly for months. I'd brought my own tools and was doing it properly. Janet came out. "Marcus, you're fixing the bench." "Yeah, figured it was about time someone did it. Can't have people getting hurt." "That's so thoughtful." By evening, I'd also organized the messy bulletin board in the lobby and swept the entrance area. Tuesday, 5:30 a.m. gym session, followed by cleaning the windows of the community room, with permission from the building manager. Afternoon spent helping old Mr. Peterson from the ground floor set up his new TV. Wednesday, morning jog around the block, very visible, then spent lunch break replanting the dying flowers in the building's entrance planters. Evening helping Mrs. Chen with her computer problems. Thursday, early morning car wash session for 3 neighbors' cars, offered free of charge, followed by fixing the squeaky door in the lobby that had been annoying everyone for months. By Friday, the neighbors' attitudes toward me had completely shifted. "Marcus, you're incredible," said Mrs. Henderson. "So helpful and energetic." "Thank you," I said humbly. "I believe in contributing to our community." Patricia watched all of this with growing confusion and what looked like frustration. Saturday morning, I organized a building-wide cleanup day. I posted flyers under everyone's door Friday night. Community Cleanup Day. Saturday 9 a.m. Let's make our building beautiful together. Tools and refreshments provided. Marcus, Opt 7B. 8 residents showed up, including Patricia, who couldn't afford to look antisocial in front of the others. I had bought coffee, donuts, cleaning supplies, and even some new plants for the courtyard. I directed the cleanup like a project manager, making sure everyone had tasks that matched their abilities. "Patricia, you have such an eye for detail. Could you handle organizing the storage closet?" "Mrs. Henderson, your gardening knowledge would be perfect for arranging these new plants." Everyone was impressed with my organization and leadership. By noon, our building looked better than it had in years. The neighbors were chatting, laughing, and praising the initiative. "Marcus, this was such a wonderful idea," said Elena. "We should do this quarterly," suggested Janet. Patricia looked like she'd swallowed something sour. The following Tuesday, exactly 1 week after I'd overheard Patricia's original complaints, I was back on the balcony hanging laundry. Once again, the neighbor coffee session was happening below. "I have to say," Mrs. Henderson was saying, "Marcus has really impressed me lately." "Yes," agreed Elena. "He's been so helpful with everything. And that cleanup day he organized was fantastic," added Janet. "My own son doesn't show that kind of initiative." There was a pause. Then Mrs. Henderson said, "Patricia, you must be so proud of your son-in-law." Another pause. I could practically hear Patricia's internal struggle. "Yes, Patricia, he's been amazing," Elena said. "Just yesterday he helped me move my couch, and he fixed Mr. Peterson's TV for free. And he organized that whole cleanup day," Janet added. "Such leadership skills." Mrs. Henderson chimed in. "You know, Patricia, a while ago you mentioned you were worried about him. But honestly, he seems like one of the most responsible young men in the building." The silence stretched on. Finally, Patricia said quietly, "Yes, I may have misjudged him. We all make mistakes in our first impressions," Mrs. Henderson said diplomatically. "The important thing is recognizing quality when we see it." I was grinning on the balcony. That afternoon, Patricia knocked on our door. Lisa was at work, so it was just the two of us. "Marcus, can we talk?" "Of course, Patricia. Come in." She sat down on our couch, looking uncomfortable. "I want to apologize," she said. "I've been unfair to you." "How so?" "I thought you were lazy. I didn't understand your work, and I made assumptions." "I see. Seeing how you've been helping everyone, organizing activities, I realized I was wrong about your character." I nodded thoughtfully. "Patricia, can I ask you something?" "Yes. What changed your mind? Was it just this past week?" She looked guilty. "Honestly, the neighbors have been praising you constantly. They think you're wonderful. And that matters to you?" "Well, yes. If everyone else sees your good qualities, maybe I was the problem." I leaned forward. "Patricia, I appreciate the apology, but I need you to understand something." "What?" "I've always been a hard worker and a good person. My work schedule is different, and my contributions might not always be visible, but that doesn't mean they don't exist." She nodded slowly. "This past week, I made an extra effort to do visible community work, because I wanted to show you who I really am, but I shouldn't have had to prove myself like that." Patricia looked ashamed. "You're right. I heard you talking to the neighbors about me." Her face went red. You heard. I heard you calling me lazy and useless. I heard you suggesting Lisa deserves better. She covered her face with her hands. Oh God, Marcus, I'm so sorry. I need to know that you'll never speak about me that way again. Not to the neighbors, not to Lisa, not to anyone. I won't, I promise. And I need you to correct the record with the neighbors about things you've said before. How? Find a way. You created this narrative about me being lazy. Now you need to actively counter it. She nodded miserably. I will. When Lisa came home that evening, Patricia had already left. I told her about our conversation. She apologized? Lisa looked surprised. Yes, she admitted she was wrong about me. That's Lisa, I need to ask you something, and I want an honest answer. Okay. Did you ever doubt me because of what your mother was saying? Lisa was quiet for a moment. Sometimes, I wondered if maybe you could be more ambitious, more traditionally successful. That hurt, but I appreciated her honesty. And now I realize I was letting her insecurities influence how I saw you. You're successful in your own way, and I should have defended that. I need you to have my back when your mother criticizes me. You're right, I should have shut it down from the beginning. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Patricia follow through on her promise to correct the narrative. She did it subtly but effectively. I overheard her telling Mrs. Henderson, "You know, I've learned so much about Marcus's work lately. Software development is much more complex than I realized." To Elena, "Marcus has always been helpful. I just wasn't paying attention before." To Janet, "I'm so lucky Lisa found such a responsible husband." The neighbors, who had recently seen my community involvement, readily accepted this revised version of me. After 2 weeks of intensive community involvement, I gradually returned to my normal routine. But now when neighbors saw me having coffee at 2 p.m. or taking a break on the balcony, they understood it differently. "Taking a break from work, Marcus?" Mrs. Henderson would say cheerfully. "Yeah, busy day with coding. Sometimes you need to step away to think clearly." Of course, mental work is exhausting too. The same behavior that was once seen as laziness was now understood as the normal rhythm of intellectual work. The change in Patricia was remarkable. Not only did she stop criticizing me, but she started actively supporting me. When Lisa mentioned I was working late on a project, "He works so hard. You're lucky to have such a dedicated husband." When I was home during the day, "It's wonderful that Marcus has a flexible schedule. He can help with errands when needed." She even started bragging about me to new neighbors. "My son-in-law is in technology, very successful, and he organized our building cleanup day." 3 months later, Patricia and I had developed a genuinely good relationship. She came to understand my work better, and even asked me to help her with computer problems. One day she said to me, "Marcus, I owe you another apology." "What for?" "I spent 2 years judging you based on my own limited understanding of what work should look like. I made assumptions and spread those assumptions to others. Patricia, we've moved past that." "No, but I need to say this. You showed me who you really were not by changing who you are, but by making your existing qualities visible in ways I could understand." She was right. The Community Involvement Week hadn't been about becoming a different person. It had been about translating my existing character into a language Patricia could recognize. Now, 6 months later, our relationship is completely different. Patricia regularly defends me to others, supports my work schedule, and has become one of my biggest advocates in the building. The neighbors all respect me, partly for my community involvement, but also because Patricia's endorsement carried weight with them. Most importantly, Lisa learned to recognize when outside opinions were affecting her view of our relationship, and she now actively shuts down any criticism of me from family members. Interestingly, my relationship with Lisa also improved significantly. She realized how much she'd been influenced by her mother's negativity and made a conscious effort to appreciate my contributions more. "I never realized how much your flexible schedule actually benefits us," she said one day. "You can handle the delivery person, deal with repair calls, manage our appointments. I took all that for granted." The building community also became more active generally. My cleanup day had sparked ongoing community engagement. Neighbors started helping each other more, organizing social events, and taking better care of our shared spaces. About a month ago, Patricia and I had our most honest conversation yet. "Marcus, I need to confess something." "What's that?" "I wasn't just worried about you being lazy. I was worried about Lisa's happiness." "Yes, but I was also jealous. Jealous. You have this flexible, modern career. You work from home, make good money, have freedom. When I was working, I had to be at the school from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day for 30 years. I think I resented that you had opportunities I never had." This was a breakthrough moment. Her criticism hadn't just been about me, it had been about her own career frustrations. "That makes sense, Patricia. Different generations do have different opportunities, and I took that resentment out on you unfairly. I'm sorry. I appreciate you sharing that with me." Now our relationship is genuinely warm. Patricia respects my work, supports my marriage with Lisa, and we've found common ground in our shared love for Lisa and our building community. She still lives next door, but instead of being a source of tension, she's become a helpful neighbor and supportive family member. Lisa has also grown from this experience. She's learned to maintain boundaries with her mother while still preserving their relationship. "I realized I was putting you in an impossible position," Lisa told me recently. "I expected you to just tolerate unfair treatment instead of standing up for yourself or asking me to stand up for you.
One unexpected benefit of this whole situation was that it forced me to become more involved in my community. I genuinely enjoyed organizing the cleanup day and helping neighbors with various tasks. I now regularly participate in building maintenance, help elderly residents with technology, and organize quarterly social events. It's enriched my life in ways I didn't expect. Another benefit was strengthening my marriage with Lisa. Going through this conflict together and resolving it successfully made us more communicative about family dynamics and boundaries. The most satisfying part wasn't Patricia's apology, it was the realization that I had handled the situation with integrity. I didn't become someone else, I just found a way to show who I already was. I also learned that sometimes people need to see your good qualities in action rather than just hearing about them. Actions really do speak louder than words. Patricia now tells people, "My son-in-law is the most helpful person in our building. We're so lucky to have him in the family." It's the complete opposite of what she was saying 2 years ago, but now it comes from a place of genuine understanding rather than surface-level impressions. Last week, Patricia asked me for advice about her own situation with a difficult neighbor. "Marcus, Mrs. Wong from 2A has been complaining about everyone to the building management. How do you think we should handle it?" It was ironic. She was asking me for advice on dealing with someone who spreads negative gossip about neighbors. "Well, Patricia," I said with a smile, "maybe we should start by trying to understand why she's doing it. Sometimes people complain because they're feeling left out or misunderstood." She looked at me thoughtfully. "You mean like I was doing with you, exactly like you were doing with me." We ended up organizing a welcome coffee for Mrs. Wong, including her in building activities, and addressing her concerns constructively. She became much more positive and stopped the constant complaints. Patricia learned the lesson completely, that most interpersonal problems stem from misunderstanding, and can be resolved through empathy and clear communication. Thanks for this story. What would you have done if your mother-in-law was gossiping about you to the neighbors? I'm curious in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe so you don't miss these drama stories. See you in the next video.